here today at the Hingham Shipyard. It's a great place to come during the day or in the evening. You can walk around and enjoy the beautiful flowers, take a look at the boats here behind us at the marinas. You can shop, and of course there are many restaurants, something for every taste, from simple to fancy. One of the most popular destinations here is the Hingham Beer Works. You can sit outside in good weather and enjoy your lunch or dinner. Inside there are dozens of flat screen TVs to watch the Red Sox or the Patriots or other sporting events. You can enjoy burgers, fries, salads, and entrees, and of course, beer. The Hingham Beer Works is not just a restaurant, it's a brewery, and they make more than 20 different kinds of beer right here in the Hingham Shipyard.
This has been a really good last 5-10 years for craft and microbreweries. They're all in the upswing. 18% sales increases every year for the last few years. So we're all pretty happy with that.
I know that beer is hops and grain. Can you kind of walk me through the process of how you actually make beer?
Absolutely.
The initial process takes place before the brew house at the mill, which is right over there. We store our malt and specialty grains right next to the mill. We get our malt from United States, Canada, and Europe. The grain is being crushed with 2 wheels. It pushes the grain up from the bottom all the way up to the top of that grist case. And the grist ends up in here, which is the grist case. When we do brew, we send the grist into the mash tun with hot water and mixes together. And then the starches get converted into sugars. We're currently mashed in right now. We're brewing ESB. It's a British style extra special bitter. It's a hoppier beer.
We add hops to the kettle for bitterness and aroma. And that's pretty much it. Hops, water, yeast, malted barley.
It takes about 25 minutes for the grain to come down here and mix with the water. At the bottom of the mash, these stainless plates that have tiny little slits in them that allows for the liquid to pass through, but not the grain.
So then the beer goes from the tun into the boiler, is that what you call it?
Okay. Our kettle.
Yeah.
Oh, usually about 10 to 20 minutes after we're done running off, it's at boiling temperature, and we're getting a rolling boil, which is what you want. This sterilizes the wort. Also, while we're running off, we're gonna spray hot water over the grain bed to help extract any remaining sugars. We'll boil for about 75 minutes. You also make your hop additions during the boil.
And then it's cooled to one of our fermenters after about an hour and a half. 3 to 4 days of primary fermentation, it's called, where the yeast will utilize the carbohydrates in the liquid, giving off CO2 and alcohol. And then it is cooled down to 55 degrees and stored for another 12 days. At this stage of the process, most of the fermentation has taken place, but we like to monitor the brew to make sure it's end fermented, as we call it. And we use a cylinder and our hydrometer, which will give us a density reading of the liquid. All right, now we're adding the hydrometer, and it will just float in here and be displaced liquid. Looks like a 1.5. So that's done. It's numerically where it's supposed to be, but now we like to make sure the aroma's good, a lot of hop character, and then a nice clean beer and clean bitterness.
Fermentation only takes about 3 to 6 days for our ales. After fermentation, the beer requires some time to condition. And then once conditioning is over, after about 5 to 10 days, we can filter. We also do take some beer out of conditioning and fill casks with it, and we have real ale cask options. We filled this cask with beer that was conditioning, and then we bunged it up, and it naturally produced its own carbonation. Of course, the carbonation is going to be at lower levels than the draft beer, but it's at the proper levels for real ale cask.
This is our single stage filter press. We put cellulose sheets in between the filter plates, push the beer through from the fermenter, and the sheets will capture stray yeast, protein haze, any other particulate, and give you nice clear beer.
And then it goes from there to?
We're filtered down to the serving tanks.
We keep this room at 38 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the proper serving temperature of draft beer. So before the beer ends up in the guest pint glass, it comes to this room after we filter it.
We have 9 different tanks for 9 different brands, plus 10 more keg lines, so that way we can do our 18, 19 brands at the bar.
And now you have some specialty flavors like blueberry and...
Yeah, we have blueberry and watermelon for the summer. We're going to have pumpkin this fall, and the Black O-Lantern, which is a spiced stout. We do Belgian beers in January. They have things like cardamom, coriander, bitter orange peel. We have a number of different flavored and spiced beers throughout the year.
Sounds yummy.
They are.
Yeah. Now tell me about your bottled beers.
And we have our trademark brands in bottles. The Fenway Pale Ale, we have the Back Bay IPA, and the Rosemary Imperial Pale Ale. And then we also have seasonals in bottles that we're bringing out. Our Autumn Works is our pumpkin beer. And then, as I mentioned, we have our Black O-Lantern, which is our new overtime spiced strong stout.
Have people come in who want to taste every beer that you have on tap?
Oh, absolutely. You can buy a 4-ounce sample of everything we make. People usually have 4 different samples, and they can mix and match. They can choose whatever beer they want for that.
So where do you see beer going in the future?
Changes I see in the industry will be sort of green technology and things like that, where we catch up to the Europeans on some of the production methods. Recycle our spent grains to local farmers. And in particular, we've got a nice partnership with Weir River Farm. They're not only taking our spent grain, they're featuring our beer at one of their beer dinners in September.
So when you come in for dinner, you can have a beer on tap, you can have a beer out of a cask, and you can take a 6-pack home.
You can have a bottle at the bar if you want. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you worked up a thirst yet? Well, now you know where to quench it. At the Hingham Beer Works, right here in the Hingham Shipyard.